In 1752, James Hackman was born in the quiet town of Gosport, Hampshire, to parents of modest means who envisioned a future for him in trade. From a young age, however, James showed little aptitude for the meticulous, patient life of a merchant. Restless and impulsive, his fiery temperament clashed with the calm discipline of shopkeeping. Recognizing that their son would never thrive in commerce, his parents, with considerable effort, secured him a commission in the 68th Regiment of Foot, hoping the structure of military life would temper his spirit. The 68th Regiment was a standard infantry unit, tasked with routine garrison duties across Britain and Ireland. It wasn't a glamorous post, nor one that promised rapid advancement, but it offered James stability and the respectability of an officer's rank. Though the army gave him a sense of purpose and polished his naturally courteous manners, James was no standout soldier. His service was competent but unremarkable, marked by quiet mediocrity. During a routine posting to the market town of Huntingdon, James's life took a fateful turn. Just outside the town stood Hinchingbrook House, the grand estate of John Montague, the 4th Earl of Sandwich, a powerful figure in government and the Admiralty. The Earl often hosted local gentry and officers at his home, and it was at one such gathering that James first met Martha Reay. She was poised, articulate, and carried herself with a quiet confidence that captivated him instantly. Martha Reay's story was far from ordinary. Born to a humble staymaker in Covent Garden, she had worked as an apprentice dressmaker before catching the eye of the Earl of Sandwich. By the age of 14, he had brought her to Hinchingbrook, providing her with an education and a comfortable life. As she grew older, Martha became the Earl's mistress, bearing him 9 children. Yet she was more than a private companion. She moved gracefully in elite social circles, her beauty and musical talent earning her admiration in London's theaters and concert halls. Despite her unconventional status, she was respected for her elegance and charm. James was smitten from their first encounter. Though Martha was older and firmly tied to the Earl, James's infatuation grew into an obsession. Perhaps he was drawn to her grace, her place among the elite, or the faint hope that he could offer her a more respectable life. Whatever the reason, his feelings soon spiraled beyond his control. To the surprise of many, Martha seemed to welcome his attention, encouraging his affections over the next few years. But James's military duties often kept him away, and the distance only deepened his longing. He poured his heart into letters, proposing marriage repeatedly, envisioning a life together sanctified by vows. Martha, however, always declined, not out of cruelty, but because she saw no future with a man of his modest standing, especially compared to the Earl's influence, despite his own financial struggles. At Martha's urging, James left the army to pursue a quieter path in the church, perhaps hoping to make himself more suitable in her eyes. He was assigned to preach in Wifton, a serene village near the Norfolk coast. Yet his devotion to Martha only intensified. He visited her whenever he could, still pressing for marriage, but her refusals persisted. Over time, his unrequited love began to fray his sanity. Friends noticed signs of instability, some believing Martha had merely been kind, never truly reciprocating his feelings. By 1779, James's obsession had become a torment. He traveled to London, claiming he wanted to forget Martha, but her presence haunted him. He learned she had grown close to William Hanger, a man of noble lineage, and their public appearances together fueled his despair. On April 7, 1779, James heard that Martha would attend a performance of love in a village at Covent Garden Theatre with her friend, the singer Signora Galli. Unable to resist, he dressed in his finest clothes and went to the theatre. Spotting Martha stepping from her carriage, radiant and elegant, he felt a pang of longing and distance. Inside the crowded auditorium, he couldn't focus on the performance, his emotions overwhelming him. He left early, returning to his lodgings in Duke's Court. Alone, James's thoughts darkened. He retrieved 2 pistols, loaded them carefully, and returned to Covent Garden to wait for the opera's end. As Martha emerged and approached her carriage, James pushed through the crowd. In a moment of tragic impulse, he fired a shot that struck her in the head, killing her instantly. Turning the second pistol on himself, he fired, but the bullet only grazed him. In anguish, he began beating himself with the weapon, crying out that he no longer wished to live. The scene erupted in chaos. A gentleman, Mr. McNamara, initially thought Martha had fainted and tried to help her, only to discover the horror of her death. A surgeon, Mr. Dennis O'Brien, confirmed the fatal wound. James was quickly restrained by a constable and taken to the nearby Shakespeare Tavern for questioning. The murder shocked London. Martha, though never married and living an unconventional life, had been a quiet, dignified figure, admired for her grace and talent. Public opinion was divided. Some saw James as a man undone by love, others as a delusional figure who deserved little pity. The next day, James faced Sir John Fielding at Bow Street Magistrates' Court. Visibly injured and distraught, he struggled to compose himself. Fielding, showing compassion, urged him to face the proceedings with courage. Despite his emotional state, the evidence was clear, and James was charged with murder and sent to Newgate Prison to await trial. Fielding ensured he was treated with respect, granting his request for a private cell, but insisting he not be left alone due to his suicide attempt. On April 16, 1779, James's trial began at the Old Bailey. He pleaded not guilty, though the evidence was damning. Witnesses, including Mr. McNamara and Mr. O'Brien, recounted the night's events in grim detail. James's defense argued insanity, citing a letter found in his pocket where he confessed his mental anguish to a friend, begging forgiveness and hoping for peace in death. The jury, however, was unmoved, returning a guilty verdict. Judge Blackstone sentenced James to death by hanging, his body to be dissected as was customary. 3 days later, on April 19th, James was led to the gallows at Tyburn. Accompanied by clergymen, he was somber and prayerful, saying little before the noose was placed around his neck. As the cart pulled away, James Hackman's life ended, leaving behind a story that gripped the public's imagination. The tragedy of James Hackman and Martha Reay became a cautionary tale, sparking debates about the dangers of unchecked passion. Some drew parallels to other crimes of love, noting how rejection could twist devotion into destruction. It was a reminder that even the most refined hearts could fall prey to emotions too powerful to contain. Subscribe to Past Unveiled for more videos like this.